up? What is up? Trying to make sure I'm live right here. It always takes a second on YouTube. What is up? We got another new RGT drop today. Something that's been hinted at for a long time. It's finally here. This is the first, hopefully, of many. I don't know any secret info, but I'm hoping this is the first of many scenery packs that are going to go live on RGT for the Magic Roads scenery. So before, all the Magic Roads looked the same. Now there's the option to put this scenery pack, which is, I forget exactly how they worded it. It's like Europe in springtime or something. So when you're setting up an event, like this is a Magic Road ride I set up. This actual road is one of the ones that RGT preloaded into the Magic Roads. It's a British route called Clyder, I believe is the name of it. But I don't know how to say it. But it looked like a good loop that is 31.5. You can see it on the sign right there. 31.5K, 274 meters of elevation. So I figured this would be a good one to test it out on. I want to do a recovery ride today. So great timing for me to check this out and actually be able to like look at it and think about it, talk about it. So I didn't want something too hilly, but I do want to see what it does rendering hills and stuff. I think that's like the most interesting part of the Magic Roads. So if you don't know at all, Magic Roads are the RGT GPX based. Basically, you can ride any route in the world via GPX file. You take the GPX file, load it into RGT, and then it procedurally generates all this scenery. Previously, so originally it would just generate the road and then like grass on either side, and then it was kind of in a void. You were in this like it felt like a dome, like the Truman Show. That was Magic Roads 1. Magic Roads 2 basically added this full scenery where it goes into the distance. There's some animals and stuff. The signage you see up there auto-populates. So now, I guess we're still calling this Magic Roads 2, but this is an additional scenery pack. So now there's sort of the default scenery pack that looks the way that it looks, and then there's this which has different, let's see, there's looks like we got a cobbled road surface here. So the first thing I'm interested to see is, are the cobbles louder when I get going? Is it going to be louder riding on the cobbles? The second thing is, have they increased rolling resistance for the cobbles the way that they have on the Dirty Reaver dirt route? I would also imagine we're not too far off from a scenery pack that would have the dirt assets. So you could build like a dirt back road kind of situation. We will see though. So these are all bots. I've programmed these bots to ride, I think I said like 200 to 275 watts, something like that. So hopefully I can stick with them and get a good recovery ride in, check out this new feature, see if there's any surprises other than like the road surface, which already looks cool. Nice little change, and the signage looks a little bit different. So I get the feeling this is meant to sort of like coincide with the Spring Classics season kicking off. This is sort of a Classics-y looking pack. What up, Chris? Yeah, psyched for the new update. So, oh, here we go. Make sure I don't get dropped by these bots right off the gun. There's one other thing I want to talk about today. Oh, hey, your avatar looks back when you hit the look behind button. That's cool. That's new update stuff. It's definitely drearier too. Oh, and it's raining. Well, and there's little puddles on the road. That's all new stuff. Cool. So before it was always the same weather on the Magic Roads, and the sky was just like straight up clear blue sky. Looks like there's some kind of big rocks just randomly populating on the sides of the road too. That's new. So somebody got at me, and apologies, I forget who it was that asked this, but someone was saying they had been going through my channel looking for tips and stuff, saying they had done a lot of the team time trials on Zwift, the WTRL, and they were going to come over and try the MRE TTT, Magic Road events. Okay, road surface is changing. Got these British stone wall things here. Cool. Different foliage. I gotta say, these trees look, and maybe it's because I'm not used to it, the trees don't look quite as good. Everything else is solid. I like the road surface a lot. But that guy was asking me for tips on the TTT. Oh, hey, it's raining again. And I haven't done tips specifically on the TTT, so I figured at some point during this ride I can drop some. I'll try and get with a few bots and show some of the mechanics. Bridge, that's new, interesting. I wonder if I created a route that needed a bridge, if it would do that, or if it's smart. I don't think this route crosses over itself. I guess we'll find out, huh? I'm not sure, Mark. Hard to say without testing it. Although, I don't think this is necessarily any harder to render. It seems like they've just kind of replaced the assets with different assets. So what would have been a different kind of tree is now this kind of tree, and stone wall instead of bush. Road surface instead of the old road surface. But hard to say. So I'm not noticing it pushing my PC any harder, but this is actually not a crazy spec'd out PC. It's pretty basic. I've got a video on it if you want to see the full build, but yeah, I like the sky too. It reminds me of the if you guys have ridden the Paterberg course on here. Reminds me of that. All right, I'm actually warmed up now, so need to get rid of this long sleeve. Oh, and I'm going backwards. So I think I'm going to talk through the drafting and team time trial stuff later in this ride when it breaks up a little bit more. And Hugo, it was closer to 400, and that's including like the monitor and the monitor stand. Although I will say it's a little bit harder to find PC parts right now because of the pandemic. A lot of people, I was lucky that I got in there early. There's kind of both more demand and then a little bit of a supply chain shortage on PC stuff. But yeah, especially if it's like mostly going to be dedicated for the Pain Cave. This is Bots Winter. I'm just doing a recovery ride to check out this new Magic Roads update with the I guess you would call this kind of Flandrian scenery. And I'm also going to talk through time trial mechanics, really just like RGT drafting mechanics and how it's kind of different from Zwift. So there's been a big discussion in my team group today that the Zwift draft has felt a little stickier since the last update. I'm interested to hear if anyone else feels that way, that the Zwift draft has gotten stickier. Seems like when you run into the back of someone, it slows you down a little bit more, harder to get around them. And we're back in the rain here. So I'm interested to see, there's the profile down here, when we hit that hill that's coming up, the big one. First of all, I'm gonna have to stay with some of these bots. But second of all, I want to see what how the new Magic Roads pack renders that scenery. If the cliffs look different, if there are different animals or anything. Okay, so other people are feeling that. So I did a race. I actually raced Zwift and RGT yesterday, which is why I need recovery. Hey, here's another one of these bridges. And I didn't notice it in the XRS races crit I did yesterday, but a lot of people were saying that it felt stickier, which is kind of funny. Another bridge, a lot of bridges through here, a lot of overpasses. So that's a cool new asset. Interesting, Winter and Hugo. Yeah, so several of my teammates were saying it felt that way too. So I'm wondering if maybe they've rolled out that new AI, or I don't know what's going on. Graham, that's actually a thing that, so most of my local road races, we don't have the whole road. So this actually feels very alien to me. I feel like all those people over on the left, the Commissar motorcycle should be blowing the whistle at them right now. Actually, so there's been one, oh, now I'm over the center line. We call it the center line rule. You can't cross the middle line. And if you do, you can't cross the middle line and move up. Modarm, you're asking, is there, so single click for no box. You can do a quick ride, but I don't think the quick ride is going to give you this scenery. I think the quick ride is all the new scenery. Looks like a different kind of fence here. All right, we're hitting the climb here. Well, a climb. We got another one coming. I think the pack, Graham, the shape of the peloton and the way it moves around definitely still looks a lot more realistic. But I'm wondering if Zwift is like trying to do a stealth rollout of that new pack AI that they were testing, which I rode on a couple of times, and it seemed mostly cosmetic. It actually seemed like it was just causing the group to get a little more squished side to side and strung out long ways. But also, the Tour de Zwift events where I tried it out are always a little bit different because of how they're all like 1 to 5 watts a kilo. So it's hard to judge because it's so different from a race pack where everyone's like close to the same level. Okay, I'm thinking this descent will probably be a good place to talk through the TTT mechanics for the guy who asked. But that's part of why I mentioned it, the pack dynamics, because it does seem like Zwift is maybe tweaking it a little bit. A lot of you already know my theories about how the Zwift draft works, though. How weird it is. I basically don't think it's really a draft. I think it just kind of, if you're close to people, you go faster for the same effort. It's not as touchy. Like on RGT, it really matters if you're directly behind someone or if you're off to one side and how fast you're going. Feels a little bit more like Zwift is kind of just for the same effort, you're close to people, you go a little faster. We got a very stormy day here with the rain coming in and out. The puddles look good. All right, so talking draft and TTT. So it matters on RGT a lot more. First of all, you can save more by being directly in the draft on RGT than on Zwift. So you can see all these bots are doing. Graham, that's what I think. On Zwift, it is one-dimensional and left to right positioning doesn't really matter. That makes sense to me with what I see. So conversely, on RGT, where you are left to right matters a ton. You save a lot more when you are directly behind somebody than when you go out to either side. And that's even more true when you're going downhill. But especially in a TTT, you're going to save the most if you can drop into a perfect single file line. So when you start doing more watts than you need to stay in the draft, your avatar is always going to come around to the side that is more open. And it's also going to, the only thing that makes your avatar move right to left, two things are, it tries to find a draft of someone that's going a similar speed to you. And then if you're doing too many watts to stay in that draft, tries to find an open line. What's up, Justin? Welcome. Yeah, this is cool so far. They've added the rain feature. Rain's coming on and off. We've seen some cobbled roads. I wonder if we'll hit any more cobbled roads or if that's it. Hey, a building. That's new. No buildings on the old Magic Roads. Couple buildings. We've got like a proper town here. So, doing the TTT, oh, here we are, cobbled road. And it looks like, I mean, I'm just looking at the audio sliders on my broadcasting. Yes, this update also changed the rider list to keep you in focus, like you're always in the middle of the list. And then it shows 11, and it made everything over there bigger, the font's bigger. I think that's a little bit more than it was on the last update. I think they tried to squeeze in more. So this is like radically different looking. We're getting a bunch of buildings here, which is interesting. I didn't expect all these buildings and to hit like a cluster kind of like this. Interesting. I wonder if it's going to eventually be able to put buildings in the rough spot where a town would be. Or maybe it's already doing that. Maybe I'm going through town right now. I don't know. So this is the Clyder standard Magic Road that everybody has. I need to make sure I stay in the draft. Into the cobbles there. Yeah, it looks like, so the audio did change. Maybe? I don't know, I can't tell. You guys tell me. Was the audio different when we were going over the cobbles? I try to keep everything pretty quiet in this room so that the mic, it's so loud in here because I got fans and drivetrain noise and all that stuff. So on the TTT front, getting back to that, now we got a good, oh, this is probably a terrible time to talk about it because we're going up this hill. But basically, much more so than on Zwift, actually dropping into a pace line is going to save you way more on RGT than it does on Zwift. On Zwift, because of that blob mechanic, it's actually kind of fastest to just blob up as tight as you can. But on RGT, you really want to fall in directly single file. If you can see right now, I'm saving nothing. Now I'm saving 4 watts over here to the side. I'm going to back off a little and try and get in this line. Now I'm saving 16 watts. 20, see, I hit like 30 something when I actually got in the line for a second there. So the way I can knock her off the wheel, it's really hard with the bots because they do such a good job of matching speed. Yeah, now I'm saving in the 30s because I'm back here. So I need to back off a tiny bit, get right on the wheel, and then just stay there. So one thing to keep in mind with team time trialing on RGT is single file pace line is going to be the most efficient way because each person is going to be getting the most draft off the person in front of them. And then also the head rider, when you're bumping your wattage up to start your pull, you need to do that very smoothly so you don't create a gap. Tiny line under your name. Mark, that relates to effort level. So that is the under the name tags, and it's also over there on the rider list. Basically, the farther left and more blue it is, the easier I'm going. The farther right and more red it gets, the harder I'm going. With, I believe yellow is around FTP. So I'll drop off the back here and then do a little effort to get back on, and you'll see it go back up. Here's dropping back. Looks like we're coming to another little town. Saw the sign there. And okay, here comes an effort. Watch my name tag here. Red, 500 watts. Yellow. And we're back on. We dropped this guy. Sorry, Burley. So there's 2 places to see that. There's on the name tags, and then there's also on the rider list. It's the farthest left thing over there. I really like having it under the name tags of the riders because it gives you some of that context that you're normally kind of lacking in e-racing, which is like, is someone breathing hard? Are they really like fidgeting around in the saddle? You can normally use that to kind of gauge someone else's effort level, but you lose it a lot in e-racing. And I know on Zwift, a lot of people, myself included, we find ourselves just looking at that rider list, which is over here on Zwift, but just looking at that rider list and waiting for something to go red. But this way you can focus actually on the avatars and still get a little more of that context, and it's a little bit like easier to gauge than watching people with watts per kilo. You can also turn that on or off. There's a setting on the mobile app to turn those name tags on and off. Also very helpful in a TTT, although I would hope that you would be communicating. So here's another TTT thing. If you're doing about the same watts or watts per kilo, whatever is more important at that moment, it'll let you fan out to the side like these bots are doing. You're not going faster like that. If you are fanned out like that in a time trial, everyone who is off to the side needs to back off and slot back in behind a rider the way I am right now. And everyone who is out front, the one person who is out front needs to slowly increase their effort. Because, I mean, just like real life, if you're just riding shoulder to shoulder with people, you're not really saving much energy. You're not really going much faster. And the faster you're going, the bigger the discrepancy is, or the more you can save by being in the draft. So the more the front person has to do, the less the people in the back have to do. So right now, like, I'm having trouble dropping fully into the draft because it's so downhill if I put anything out. I mean, that's true in real life for sure. When you're going down to 6%, you can just get tucked in and ride behind someone who's putting out a pretty significant effort. I was hoping those bumps would have created some cliffs or whatever. I'd be interested to see what a route looks like on this update when you okay, now I got to start pedaling again, get up to speed with these guys. Interested to see what a route looks like that has some switchbacks or like sort of cliff faces on this update. So these bots are not doing a great job, but it's also of like, if this were a team time trial, but these bots are not smart. You know, they're pushing a certain wattage at a certain weight, and that's kind of just what they do. I'm able to dial it in a little bit more. So like right now, I'm gonna try to get in the wheels and just stay tucked in. And you can see how little I actually have to do. If I'm staying really, really well tucked right here, I don't have to do much to stay on the wheel. There was a stage of Vive la France event on RGT where I was with, I believe it was Blair Drader. See, like right here, got a little speed, so I got a kick. And we were swapping turns, and Drader kept going from, see where I'm tucked right here, start putting out a little more. He would kind of get like this, kind of off to the side, and sort of start to echelon out to the side. It was just me and him, just the two of us. And I kept having to tell him, when you're not pulling, you need to back off, because it will let you, like the game will let you, a little climb right here, hang out to the side if you, so like here I am on the wheel. If I keep putting out a little more power than the bots, swing out left here. If you're sitting out here, you're not saving, see I'm saving 3 watts, 4 watts now. Let me get back in the draft. So back off, little pop to match speed, slot back in, boom, 47 watts, 40. If you're not seeing what I'm talking about, top left corner up there. Mod Arm, you can ride with no bots if you want to. You can grab a Magic Road, go to Organize in the mobile app, and there's a spot in there for a number of bots. You can just hit 0. I like the bots to practice drafting and stuff and show what I'm talking about on the TT stuff. Like right now, these bots are doing all the same watts. Really, 4 of the 5 of them could drop down a full watt per kilo and go single file rather than being all flared out like that. Yeah, I really like the bots as like a way to keep me engaged on an easy ride. I'm not really worried about, you know, free watts or whatever. I look at it like a group ride in real life. Like I get a few more miles in if I go outside and do a group ride than if I go outside and ride by myself. And it's also like, you know, the difference between having a headwind or a tailwind. The bots are so steady though. They're a really good way to practice. Like right now, I'll just try and get on the wheel and just stay tucked into this group as cleanly as I can. Not flare out to the side. It's interesting, you can tell like which bots are heavier and which bots are lighter because of who goes to the front when it's uphill and who goes to the front when it's downhill. Not really, Graham. The bots are pretty steady, but you can get a pretty dynamic group of bots going, especially, so I set them to distributed, which gives them a very, oh, I'm going too hard as I'm talking here. Setting the bots to distributed, there's 2 options. There's distributed and there's random. Distributed, from what I understand, gives them a pretty uniform power and weight, and then random really randomizes both the power and the weight over the spectrum that you set out. If you do a lot of bots, like I think I did 40 for this. How many? 51. Okay, so there's 50 bots and then me. You can see that on the riders online over there. If you program a lot of bots and then random, you get a pretty dynamic group, especially if the route is a little bit undulating, because certain bots will slingshot through the draft. They'll be heavier, they'll be lighter. You'll see different ones go into the front at different times, and groups forming and breaking up, and certain bots losing contact like I am right now. One thing to really be watching for on RGT more than Zwift is, so you can actually see the draft, that top left-hand window, showing you how much you're saving. And when you're getting tailed off like I was right there, you need to, like right here, you can watch it. And if you lose, if you're not getting like 100 savings, if your savings really trail off and you're, especially if you're getting nothing, you need to do just like a second of a really hard effort to get on. Sounds like, Mod Arm, do you like workouts at all? I think if I was doing that, I would probably go workouts. Just so then you can kind of really shut your brain off, and it forces you to do the exact wattage, so you're getting the exercise benefit or whatever. For me, the bots also just keep me engaged mentally. Like, I mean, you guys are seeing right now, I'm really focused on them, staying in the draft good. But if I lose focus for a second, I'll kind of go off the front, go off the back, and then I gotta focus up again, which is another big difference between RGT and Zwift. I don't know if anybody heard that Eric Min interview that came out last week. I thought it was pretty illuminating, also pretty frustrating in some ways, parts of it. But at one point he said Zwift has no interest in being a simulator, which is what I've been saying for a long time. Zwift is a lot more of a game, and RGT is a lot more of a simulator. But it was interesting to just like hear that from the horse's mouth. And he basically said, you know, if you go up out the Zwift and you go up out the Wes in real life, your time's not going to be the same, and that is what it is. And like that's not even something they're chasing. So I think that squares with the idea that the physics engine is a little wonkier over there. But RGT seems very much concerned with like simulating the outside riding, outside racing environment as much as possible, and less concerned with the game aspect. Trying to think of some other stuff from that Eric Min interview that was interesting. He seems to really not understand why people use Zwift, which is like very frustrating to me, which is a lot of reasons, but definitely doesn't understand racing, I don't think. Which is frustrating. They're like some of their most hardcore users. And also talking about environments. Train on actual. Interesting. So most of what I use Magic Roads for mod arm is racing on different courses, and that's honestly what really hooked me on RGT in general, was the fact that, like, especially when the pandemic hit and everything went inside, there were a few clubs like Westerly VR and the Betashangar Tuesday. There were a lot of like local groups that took some of their local racing circuits and put them on RGT and put the races on. And it was like I could kind of virtually hop into these events that are like, you know, every little pocket of cycling culture has its own weeknight Hammerfest ride, or like Saturday crit series or whatever, like the thing where everyone gets out there with their friends and has a good rip. And it was cool that I could kind of like just drop into those from the comfort of my pain cave, you know, and sort of, you know, race with those people and on those courses. And it just made the racing interesting that the courses, A, could be like anything, whatever course we could think of and grab a GPX file for, and then B, the courses actually matter more so than on Zwift because it slows you down for the turns, the gradients feel a little bit more realistic, all that stuff. So that was what really hooked me. But honestly, when I'm just free riding, I'll normally free ride on one of the real road courses. Yeah, I think Magic Roads is like really the killer app though, like no matter how you use it. I know other people who use it, like it makes a lot of sense to me for triathletes. You could get your pacing plan off of Best Bike Split, load your bike leg into RGT, and then actually like do your pacing plan on the actual road. And of course it's going to be a little bit different with the Dolomite, I think it is it's a personal preference thing, because I know I've had people have the exact opposite reaction too. Like, I've had people see this and be like, "Oh, what is this? This looks so much better than Zwift." And I think it's whether the cartooniness bothers you or not. I don't think RGT is like completely there for sure, like graphics wise. I think the Dirty Reaver course looks really good. I think some of the rider animations get a little weird. But then at the same time, I think the pack looks much more natural than it does on Zwift. Like the movements of the pack, like how that bot just kind of like threaded the needle between those two, and how we're all kind of holding our position on the road. This looks more natural that way to me. But if I stand up and sprint, my avatar is going to have that weird bobbing around. And like, these trees don't look quite as good as the ones on Zwift. Everyone's avatars are kind of a little beefy still. Yeah, some people really are bothered by the cartoon look. I kind of don't. I think they both look like what they look like. Sometimes I go back to Zwift from RGT, and the lateral, like people doing this through each other in the pack constantly, churning around and going through each other laterally, it starts to, whoop, I gotta get back on. It starts to look crazy to me, but then I get used to it again. And I think that's something that people who are used to Zwift don't even see it really. And I think when you stop seeing that, that's also why a lot of times those people come over to RGT and feel like they're just getting dropped at random, because those lateral motions don't they don't matter so much on Zwift. Yeah, Scott, that's that cartooniness. Is like Zwift, the grass is like hyper color green. I think that's in the dynamics too. Like Zwift is kind of a sweetened version of the world. The grass is greener, like all the colors pop more. It's not trying to be real, it's trying to be, you know, idealized. And I think the drafting is kind of the same way. Like on Zwift, you can stop paying attention a little bit, and the game is going to kind of like bring you into the group. It's a lot more forgiving, both off the front and off the back. But RGT, like, okay, I'm in the draft right now. If I put out some more power, swing out to the side, hit the wind, and then back off, can get dropped a lot easier. What do you mean the juice is worth the squeeze, Dolomite? You mean like why have another thing when there's already a thing that works? Coming through a little town here. Right. The dinosaurs are a perfect example of what I'm talking about. Like, there are no dinosaurs when you ride in real life. Thus, there will not be dinosaurs on RGT, I would bet. But there will be. Hey, Adelino, welcome to the stream from Paris. I'm in Birmingham, Alabama. Okay, you guys tell me, did the sound change when we hit the cobbles? That's something. What's up, Brian? Have you ridden this yet? This is the first Magic Roads tile set update. I just downloaded it off of the Google Play Store, Brian. I just went on there and searched RGT and hit. Okay, let's see. No game sound. I'm seeing it on. See if I turn it up a little bit. How about you guys hearing game sound now? RGT supporting Sturzo. I would love it if RGT supported some kind of hardware. I doubt it'll be Sturzo. Specifically, but you're still not hearing anything because I see it on the okay, way up. No game sound still, nothing. Okay, I'm gonna get myself dropped doing this. Let's get back up there. Okay, yeah. The whirring tires is what I'm talking about. I'm just wondering if the road surface, the whirring tires changes from here to here. Let's see if we can get back in. No chin straps, Brian. But look, this is new. Look behind. The avatar actually looks. That's new. I do have a fan going, Chris, but hopefully we're not picking up too much of that. Normally, the NVIDIA voice filter I use on my microphone gets rid of the fans. Normally, I just get a little bit of drivetrain noise. That was a harder effort than I wanted to do to get back on here. So, if I'm being totally honest, trees in this update need a little introscopic filtering or something. They look a little flat. Yeah, look behind animation is cool. I'm into that. Also, maybe I'm crazy, but I feel like the texture of the helmet looks like shinier or better. Nope, look behind a button is still same spot, left side of the app. I think look behind is fine where it is. I think they should just move the stop ride button away from the other buttons. Maybe even like one menu deeper for stop ride. I think. Brian, have you done any racing on here recently? So I still haven't done a ranked race. I've been doing the fondos, which are not ranked, and the echelon races, the pro races, which are also not ranked. Yeah, I agree, Brian. I would love, hey, we're back on the cobbles. I would love look behind button where the stop ride button is, and then stop ride button like one menu deeper. I did the Fondo yesterday on RGT. Was super fun. Yeah. Well, I wouldn't even say Zwift. I mean, Zwift just has more of everything for sure. Dolomite, there is an analog to Zwift power. It is called RGT DB. It's pretty new. And do an RGT easy spin, Graham. That's what I'm doing. I set these bots to ride 50 watts under my FTP. Thanks, Adelino. Yeah, I mean, I think the Sturzo was designed, and I could be wrong here, in conjunction with Zwift to some degree, and I know they had a deal of some sort there that was exclusive for some period of time. I would actually love to see if RGT would support buttons or something. Nice, Brian. I'm gonna do the tour, the Pro Dairyland, not this weekend but next weekend. Okay, you're talking about like the gamification, Dolomite, like the badges and all that stuff, XP levels. So that's just a difference of philosophy, I think. Yeah, getting back to what someone said about I do think Zwift spends way more of their time and energy thinking about that stuff, like the they call it content, but yeah, like levels and badges and all of that. And RGT is really like creating a simulator where you can do events and do your training. And it's a virtual world that like replicates the real world. So it really depends what you want out of it. And for me, like racing, I find the racing mechanics and stuff to be a little bit more engaging on RGT. It's like more possible to drop people. Yeah, that's another thing, Brian. I don't even have everything. I'm like level 32 or something, but I don't feel like there's a ton to strive for. I'm 3 or 4 badges away. I'll get them all soon. And the motivation of that stuff is kind of wearing off. Whereas, like, having good dynamic racing will always be a motivation for me. But I also recognize there are other people who don't care about racing at all. And for them, like, maybe RGT, okay. RGT does not have levels or drops or XP or any of the other, like, video game type stuff. Now, RGT has developed a new RGTDB.com, which, if you go look at my most recent video on this YouTube channel, it's all about RGTDB. It's sort of like an analog for Zwift Power. It does have, I'm answering Ryan right now. So they have created a ranking system, but it's not like the Zwift Power ranking system. It's based on the ELO system from chess. It's like results-based ranking. So it's not like a system that's based on watts per kilogram the way the Zwift system is. As you get results, you move up and down. It's a third party, like what's up, Mitchell? Yeah, I'm trying to take it easy. These bots are going a little harder than I want to. RGTDB is third party, but they're working, like RGT has opened up their API to it and stuff. So it's hand in hand, and I think this is the sense I get, is that RGT would love to be doing RGTDB themselves, but they have less than 20 employees total. And like they've been building this new scenery pack, and I'm assuming other scenery packs as well. I think this will probably be the first of many, would be my guess. What's up, Billy? Been a while. Yeah, ranking-based results is huge, Dolomite. I agree. And that's another, like, I mean, that's what keeps me interested in real-life racing, too, is, like, getting results and moving up and all that kind of stuff. So it's just a difference in philosophy. To go back to the question about the Sturzo and Elite, it would be cool to see RGT, not DB, support like steering buttons. If there was like a wider support for like, here's an AMP Plus protocol and you can kind of connect whatever to it. So if one person wanted to connect a game controller and use the stick, you could. And if another person wanted to connect some Bluetooth buttons, you could. And if another person wanted to use a Sturzo, you could. I would love to see that. I think that intentional steering on RGT would like completely change the game, so to speak. I think we're about to finish here. We are done. Back to the start. So that is the new scenery pack on RGT. I guess I'm gonna call it a day there. I might maybe I'll hop over to Zwift and preview. So I will be live. Dolomite, there is workout mode. I got a video about that. Actually, you can use ZWO file workouts from Zwift in RGT workout mode. It's actually the easiest way to do it is to build your workouts either if in Training Peaks, if you have Training Peaks, or use ZWO Factory is what I do. So that's part of the strategy, Ryan. That's actually part of why I like this platform is, we got a lot of finishers here. Let's see what I did. Ryan, that's part of what I like about this platform is that the cornering becomes a place where people can get gapped off and stuff. Thanks, Mark. Appreciate it. So basically, the dynamic is when you push, your avatar is going to look for the most open place to go into. And generally coming into a corner, everyone's avatar wants to go to the inside. So if you start to push, it's always going to push you outside. So if you want to push around a corner, you need to do it significantly before, move up and get your spot, or significantly after. What's up, Lawrence? Lawrence, are you doing the hill climb this weekend? The Baker's Dozen? Are you doing Southern Cross? Somebody else had a question I wanted to address here. Maybe I'll keep this going. I feel like we had a lot of good stuff to say. Thank you, Lawrence. Let's race, dude. Come on. So, okay. RGT is frustrating because you can get dropped. That's why it's both better and worse than Zwift. It is much easier to get dropped or drop other people, which is inherently frustrating. But that's also what yeah, Scott, I've made some let's see here. Maybe I can grab one that I've made. I'm going. So I took one of my local hills. Nope, not this. One of the hills I train on a lot. See how quick I can do this. Oh, no, can't do it. Okay. So, yeah, if you just take a raw fit file and put it in, or a raw, it's actually not a fit file, GCN, GPX file, and put it into RGT, it can be a little bit wonky. There are a few people who have made programs that smooth them out, or if you just take it not from like a GPX file off of your head unit. Yeah, it is. It's pretty good. So I've been meaning, this is a video I've been meaning to do is do Smire 300 watts on here, do Smire 300 watts outside, and then compare the times. I'm interested to see what that would be like. Yeah. So the fact that Dolomite just said, ask Kerry Werner about getting dropped on RGT. I think the fact that that Kerry got dropped so hard on his first race actually shows that there is like a skill to the platform, the same way that if a TT specialist who's super strong tried to jump into a cross race with Kerry, they'd be getting lapped immediately. They actually talk about that on the Nowhere Fast podcast. If anyone wants to check that out. So what I have got coming up is I'll be doing over on Twitch, twitch.tv/Jonathan Crane tomorrow. I'll be streaming the Team Time trial around this time tomorrow. And I got a couple of videos that are like half edited that I hope to drop sometime this week, but I've got a very busy work week. And then I will probably be doing this hill climb race locally this weekend. We'll see. The Baker's Dozen hill climb. Maybe get a video out of that. Maybe get myself totally destroyed. But anyway, I feel like I've answered all the questions unless anybody gets any more in here. Good, Dolomite. Glad to hear. Yeah, Nowhere Fast is great podcast about e-racing. If anybody else is looking for some more e-racing related content, this is also Life in the Peloton is Mitch Docker's podcast. Another good cycling podcast. Anyway, how many feet of climbing? I do not know. It's 13 of the steepest hills in town. Each hill is timed individually. It's called the Baker's Dozen. So I've actually done it before, but they changed. Some of the hills are not rideable anymore. So they've changed to some different hills, but a lot of elevation. It's like 32 miles and a lot. So you ride neutral between the hills. You get to the hill, and then it's like, oh, 1, 2, 3, go. You race up the hill, and then you're scored based on your finishing place on each hill. And then there's like a point system to tally the whole thing. It didn't happen last year because of COVID. The year before I won it, and the year before that I was like second or third. So we'll see if I can keep the podium streak going. Dolomite, it is based on the Dirty Dozen, I believe is what it's called in Pittsburgh. It's that exact same format. We're just doing it here. Birmingham is the Pittsburgh of the South, so there's a little connection there. Anyway, probably be doing that this weekend. So probably stream tomorrow of the TTT will be like the only other stream this week. Anyway, see you guys later.